Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. We have Maggie Batten on the podcast, coming to us all the way from Georgia. I mean, Georgia seems to be a particular theme because our last guest was from Georgia as well. But she's here to share her health and fitness journey and, how it's been for her. And especially, as we're talking during the coronavirus, we'll talk a little bit about that too and how she's been able to stay in shape and the fact that she has 4 kids, which, that just drives me crazy how you're still able to be in shape. I mean, most people, even after that first kid, they're like, okay, I'm just done. I'm done working out. It's fine. But, she's still in great shape. So, we got to find out what her secret is. But again, she's our current guest. And Maggie, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I got to ask, first of all, what is the weather like in Georgia today?
Oh, it's always hot and muggy here. We do get a lot of rain, but it's mostly hot and muggy.
Yeah, it's 84 right here, but we're supposed to get storms. So, this is the one time where I have cooler weather than my guests. Usually we've had such a horrible summer so far in Minnesota where it's been 90 degrees like every day for like 3 weeks. And then 3 nights ago, we had a night where it was 65 and I literally stayed up almost all night just because it was the one perfect night where like I could like just went out for drives and stuff. But before we get into that, because I always say I could do an entire podcast just based on my weather woes. And that's, a 10-hour podcast that I could do. Why don't you give us your backstory on what really inspired and motivated you to get in shape and how that led to where you're at right now?
I've always been, I ran cross country in high school. Probably in college is when I first picked up a weight, but I still had that mentality as a lot of women have, like, oh, I don't want to be bulky, don't want to look like a man. And I kind of got away from that when I met my husband. And he kind of let me know, okay, weights are not going to make you look like that. That was back in 2013. And that's when I really got into the lifting weights. And I was a spin instructor then. I was a personal trainer. And I just really fell in love with it. It's just been a passion of mine. It's gotten me through so many different things. It's just really, it's kind of in my therapy, whether you have depression, postpartum, anxiety, anything. It's like, well, let me go to the gym. Let me go pick up some weights. So it's just kind of gone, uphill from there. And that's where my journey's just taking place, really.
And that's awesome. And I love to talk myths and stereotypes on this podcast too. And we talked about this briefly before I started recording is, it's gotten better the last 5 years due to Instagram, but there are still, unfortunately, so many women that still have that fear that if they walk into the weight room and they pick up one weight, they're going to put on 50 pounds of muscle overnight. And first of all, if that does happen to you, give me a call, because I would spend my entire life savings just to talk to you and train with you once, because you have found the secret that almost every guy is looking for and a lot of women are looking for too. Did you ever have that fear when you were getting started? Because I know that you were always healthy and active, but like you said, you never really did weightlifting. And even if you didn't have that fear, how do you like to respond to that now? Because I bet you hear that all the time from people.
It's funny because it used to bother me. My Instagram's really grown, especially because I did lift with 3 of my pregnancies. But now when I get those compliments, because I think it's a compliment, oh, you look so manly. I'm like, oh, look at my muscles. They must think they're big. But really, if people took the time to understand it, it's a pump. You have a pump. You're in the gym, your blood flow is going, and your muscles don't stay like that. You can see my arms, like, yes, I don't have a lot of fat on my arms, so they look a little leaner, but I don't walk around looking like Hulk Hogan. I wish, going on 8 years now, where's my big old huge manly arms, but if they really took the time to understand, it's just simply like right there in the moment, you have a pump. And normally that's when you take your selfies and post them. If they saw me just around the house vacuuming or holding my babies, I don't look like that. Soaking wet, maybe 130 pounds. So Now it doesn't bother me, and I really do take it as a compliment because I worked so hard for it. But back then, it did bother me a little bit. But I just try and tell women it's all about nutrition, supplements you're taking if you do choose to take them. And yeah, I mean, you can lift heavier weights, but you're not going to grow a beard, you know, you're not going to sprout. Our chemical makeup is just not going to make us look like a man. We weren't designed that way. And unfortunately, I mean, we can work so hard, but we're just not gonna, our bodies just aren't designed like that. We can look good, but we're not gonna have, my husband's 6'2", and he could just go to the gym 2 days a week and I'll be busting it every day and he'll get the compliments. And here I am. They're like, oh hey. So I just want women to just be okay with lifting weights. You're gonna see good results, but you're not gonna look like a man, I promise you.
Yeah, and I mean I'm 6'3", so I totally understand where your husband's coming at too. Where it's a little bit easier for guys, or I should say, a lot easier for guys, where just to be able to maintain and to grow, which I mean is unfair and unfortunate. But one positive thing that I think impacts especially women so much more than men is just that confidence boost that working out gives you. I mean, we have heard hundreds of stories on this podcast of how it's changed people's lives and helped them for the better. How have you taken that confidence boost that working out's given you and used that to impact your life?
Um, A lot, really. I actually just did an Ashley Horner. I know you know Ashley Horner. I just competed. Not it's not competed. It's I entered into her 10-week challenge, and I felt, look wise, I thought I looked good before I entered her challenge, but mentally, I was in a hole, you know. And so I entered the challenge because I really wanted to get out of the mental funk. And it was physically, it was a hard challenge. But at the end of the challenge, physically wise, I looked better, but that's not what it was about. It was like mentally, I felt so strong and so good. And I think that's really what it comes down to in any kind of physical activity, especially when you get a woman into weightlifting, and they're in there and they're working hard and they're lifting weights and they're reaching goals and they're doing PRs or whatever. You just feel good from the inside out. It's not just about their physical appearance, it's about mind and body too. It's like your mind feels good. So obviously you're going to feel good on the outside about yourself. And I think that's so important because confidence isn't about just like, oh, hey, look at my 6-pack abs. It begins on the inside. And for me, I'm raising 2 girls. And in today's world, it's like kids are so mean starting at such a young age. I can just remember my daughter coming home in kindergarten and saying like certain kids were being mean to them. I'm like, kindergarten is starting that early? So I just, not just my girls, but my boys too, but especially my daughters, I want to raise them already having strong confidence within themselves. And I want to be a good example for that too. And it's not just about beauty or strength, but like just glowing self-confidence and kind of like standing your own ground. I don't know. I know I kind of ramble, but
keep rambling. It makes my job even easier.
But and I don't always want to follow the crowd. And another thing I'm proud of, my daughter's always Googling me. I'm nobody. I'm really nobody. But she's always Googling my name, and I've never posted anything on my Instagram to be embarrassed or ashamed about. Nothing raunchy or anything. And a lot of it is muscle related or fitness related. But I've always wanted where if my kids Googled or if anything popped up on social media, my kids would be proud of that. So I always want to just represent something good. Show them, just be a good example. Not just for my kids, but for anybody really.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that, and that's just so great because we have had some people on here where it's like, if they end up having kids, it's like they might want to block themselves from the internet then because like their kids might want to. But it's great that you're doing that. But one of the questions that I love to ask everyone that's in the health and fitness realm when they first get started, because I always say if you were to walk into a gym with 100 people, there's 100 different ways as to how those people got into shape, whether it comes down to their diet, their nutrition, how many reps they do, what exercises they do. So many little things add up to that overall package that people end up seeing. What was that experience like for you? Because if you were to walk up to someone and say, hey, what'd you train for this body part, it looks amazing, what works best for them 99% of the time isn't going to work as good for you. And it's all about just figuring out through trial and error, what that's gonna take for you to get the best results.
It took me a while, and I'll still have people ask me. And a big thing was nutrition. Nutrition was a big key, that's key to everybody. You have to find what works for your body. You hear so many different things going on, like keto, fasting, intermittent fasting, paleo. And really, what worked for me is I have to eat carbs. One, do not take away my carbs. My body thrives off of those. And also, eating consistently every 2 to 3 hours, I have to be eating something. And also making sure I get water, I really hate water. That's probably the hardest part for me, is just making sure I'm fueling my body with water. But yeah, you're just eating consistently, and keep it real simple. I mean, you don't have to make it complicated. I think people like to complicate things, and it doesn't need to be. Um, for me, it's at least 4 ounces of protein, unless you're eating like fish or something, where it can be a little, higher than that. Um, but 4 ounces of protein, all the veggies that I want, all the fruit that I want, and then a carb. And I'm not scared about eating more than a cup of oatmeal, and also listen to your body. If you're hungry, eat. I mean, and if you want that brownie, eat that brownie. Um, I think people, I used to be, before I met my husband's been great, by the way, if you haven't picked that up. He was very healthy to add into my mix of things. Um, but before I met my husband, I didn't have a very healthy life with food. And I was one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, I ate that piece of pizza. Let me go run 5 miles, because my mind was just not right. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think we are just so mean to ourselves, mentally, physically, and it's not healthy to think like that. And I know a lot of people that still do that, because I'll be in the gym for an hour lifting weights, won't even see me go to the treadmills or anything, and there'll be people on the treadmill the whole time I'm there. They won't even get off of it. And what they're not realizing is they could actually be burning more calories picking up those weights, and it's more fun, I think. But so nutrition is key, and then also, one thing I've learned is some people like full body. I kind of get worn out with that. I like to although sometimes I mix it up, but I like to do a couple muscle groups on one day and then a couple muscle groups the next day. Now, being that I have 4 kids, I realize time is very precious. So some days you might see me like a mad woman in there doing a full body workout. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. So just do what you can, because the days are short. Actually, the days are long, but our time is precious. And just also, you don't need 2 hours in the gym. You definitely don't need 2 hours in the gym. If all you can do is 30 minutes, that's fine. Those 30 minutes are perfect. Just as long as you do something, move your body.
Yeah, I gotta say that's been hard for me to sort of figure out. Where like, hey, I don't need to spend all this time in the gym, especially during this pandemic, where I mean, I have all the free time in the world. Basically, I've been furloughed till September, so I'm really just like, I could spend like 4 hours in here today and that wouldn't really affect me. It's like, no, that's not that healthy. But I love to talk genetics on the podcast because it's one thing, especially in this day and age where everyone's on social media. Everyone's looking at these photos of other people and saying, oh my God, like I want her arms, I want their abs, I want his back. People just don't understand that you can only be the best version of yourself. I mean, and anytime I can promote that, I will, just because we have so many times where, I mean, you don't know how that person got to that look. You don't know how they maintain it. I mean, you don't know the dedication that they have. I mean, maybe their food. I mean, there's just so many little things where if I were to say, hey, I want Rich Piana's arms or something like that, it's like, oh, that's not going to happen. It's just not. So, but I always love to ask because whenever someone first gets started, they always have that one body part that really, really takes off, and then they have that one body part that just legs behind it. They have to train to oblivion. I mean, I'll give you mine first. My back, just because I had jobs all throughout college of being in warehouses and lifting and loading boxes, and you either got a really nice back or you quit. But also being 6'3", my legs and my lower body are just shot where, I mean, I could train legs every single day. And like I said, I could inject pure muscle into my thighs and calves and they wouldn't gain an ounce. I mean, I don't know how that's possible, but what were those body parts for you when you were getting started?
Uh, well, my arms have always been easy. Like I don't really train biceps. Not that I have like an amazing bicep, but
Well, show us the guns.
um,
Give us a gun show. Let's see those guns then. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. Mama 4, are you
um,
kidding me?
but I don't. I feel like because back is my favorite. I'm obsessed with doing deadlifts, and I love training back just because there's so much you can do with back. And I feel like with doing rows and pull ups, you do work your biceps so much. So I just don't work. I just don't work the. I know guys love and a lot of women like to
Guys
work.
communicate in biceps basically. That's our language basically. Yeah.
Now I have a few girls. My friend Savannah, she's got a peak for days, but um, I don't work my arms that much. Now slowly growing is my legs. Um, I've always wanted really shredded legs, and the only time I've had them is when, and they weren't even that shredded. It was I did a bikini bodybuilding show, and it's like peak week, like when your legs start to pop. But I've never really had like super popping muscular legs, so I'm kind of on a mission now. But it's such a balancing act because it's like you want to lift heavy, so you got to eat more. You want your muscles to grow, but it's like the more you eat, the less shredded you are. It's like, dang it. But really, it's not even about looking a certain way right now. It's really about feeling good, being healthy, setting a good example. That's really what it is for me right now. Like before I got pregnant with Declan, um, no, actually before I got pregnant with Blakely, um, I had a miscarriage, and after that, before I got pregnant with her, I had decided I was going to do a figure show because that was like the kind of the biggest I had been. And then literally the next week, I found that I was pregnant with my third. So I was like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. um, and then I kind of had it in me a little bit, like a little bit of the competing fever. But I don't know. Like, I don't really know if I want to do. They're so expensive. Honestly, if someone was like, here, Maggie, here's the money to do that show. I mean, you spend a lot of money doing that. I give credit to all those people that do all those shows because it's so expensive.
Oh, I mean, I've had bodybuilders on here, and I preach that too. It's like that's the one thing that would change about the sport is like actually give them financial incentives to do the sport because so many
Yes.
times, it's so expensive for people, and it's unfortunate that it is that. But one of the things that is not talked about as much as it should be when it comes to even just the healthy and fit lifestyle in and of itself, not just bodybuilding, is the nutrition. I mean, the vast majority of the general public does not realize that nutrition is, 80 to 90% of the results that you're going to see. You can work out, every single day and do it all perfectly. And if you don't have right nutrition, yeah, you might see some results, but it's not going to be nearly as much as you would see with proper nutrition. What were some of the bigger nutritional changes that you made when you first started, when you first took things seriously?
For me, um, I I've been picky. I'm a really picky meat eater. And any vegan listening, close your ears. It's not about killing the animal. That doesn't, as long as you do it humanely, it doesn't bother me. Um, what bothers me is the texture of meat. Since I've been 3, like I just, ugh, like it just grosses me out. I'm just weird. I've been weird like that. And so I know in order to grow and everything, and I know there's tons of vegans who are muscular. I mean, I know that. But for me, I can't eat a bunch of beans, if you know what I'm talking about. And my stomach just will not do that. And so I've tried the vegan thing. I've kind of been vegetarian a lot of my life, but in order to really kind of have goals of what I wanted, I was trying to eat a little more meat. I always have liked seafood, so seafood's always been on the plate. Um, Chicken. Now this was kind of back in 2014, 15ish. So I kind of added chicken back in, and so I was eating more meat again with the help of my husband. And it bless his heart because he would like if he had to grill stuff for me, I mean, it'd have to be like burnt. So he would have to just really not cook very good for me. Um, and then I just did my own research. A lot of people would ask me like, "Are you counting macros?" I only counted macros one time, and that was one competition that I did. Um, and it was a pain in the butt. I mean, it wasn't for me. But a lot of everything that I did was trial and error. You sort of, try things out. If things irritate your stomach, you don't do it anymore. Um, you also, when you start to see results, you're realizing what you're doing and what's working. I experimented with a lot of different protein powders. You kind of figure out what works for you, what doesn't. Um, yeah, and I also, being a mom right now, my problem until about, I don't know, 3, 4 months ago was not getting the nutrients that I needed. It was like, because I'm so busy. It's like I've got 4 kids. Half the time, all 4 of them are eating something different. You're going insane. So it was either like protein bar, protein shake, cottage cheese. I'm like, that's not eating. That's not growing. I'm not going to be able to like have any type of muscle or anything. I'm just going to look like a ugh. So I really made a goal for myself when I did the Ashley Horner challenge. I was like, okay, I need to mentally take back myself. And I started meal prepping. And it's not like I was doing a bodybuilding contest, but I was like, I've got to have time for myself again. And so it was real simple stuff. It was like, in the morning it'd be egg whites, oatmeal, protein oatmeal if I didn't have egg whites. If it was, or regular oatmeal, it would be gluten-free bread, peanut butter, and then I'd have either fish, ground turkey, things like that. Just real simple, ready to go. Sweet potatoes, vegetables. And I mean, I'm no gourmet cook, but it's just real simple. Like when the kids ate, I just warm up my stuff and ready to go. I made sure that my meals were not coming from a wrapper, or a shaker bottle, which I still do add in at least one protein shake a day, but I just wanted to have time for myself. And I mean, it just really helped. I mean, I did put on some mass. And I just felt so much better. I mean, a protein bar is not a lunch.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I've had to say that to some competitors too, because it's just as soon as they get down really, really low, and they just start to think that calories are the enemy, but that's just definitely not the case. But I gotta say, when you were talking about the texture of meat, so I have like about 3 or 4 times a week, I'll have like 2 chicken breasts before I go to bed. They have to be burnt, basically, yeah, just like you, where it's got to be crunchy, basically, for me in order to really enjoy it. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but I mean, like you said, you were in this journey through three of your 4 pregnancies. What was it? How did it adapt as you had as from like your first pregnancy to your third when it came to working out? Did you change things up at all while you were pregnant?
Um, well, with Abigail was my first, and like with her, I mean, I did a lot of walking. I didn't do lifting really, and I had a job. I worked about I don't know, 9 hours a day, something like that, something crazy, and I wore high heels. So I feel like that was kind of like working out. Now, and I gained like the normal amount of weight for her, I think. With Clayton, I taught spin classes. I mean, I was like crazy, and I stayed in really good shape with him. Um, and with and I didn't really do other than upper body weights, because spinning takes so much out of your legs. But that labor, I didn't get an epidural, but really wish I would have had one. But the recovery, I mean, the healing process was so great. And I really do think a lot of that was staying in shape. Blakely, I lifted hardcore with her. Um, like, because like I told you, I mean, I was in shape to start getting ready to train for a figure. Um, I was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life with Blakely. And it was really not a good pregnancy, probably because of that. And I really had a hard time. I had an umbilical hernia with Blakely. And 6 weeks postpartum, I had surgery. Um, they they cut you in like 6 little spots on your stomach. So what's crazy with that is I was still kind of healing and everything when I got pregnant with a fourth. um, but Declan was my best. Declan was honestly the best pregnancy. I stayed in really good shape. I ate really well. I mean, I guess like fourth time's a charm, right? Um, and I think I gained like 22 pounds. I mean, it was like nothing, but I didn't do I couldn't get back into heavy lifting because I had never healed, from this. But I did everything great. I did a lot of kettlebells. Um, I did a lot of planks and stuff, and I still did, just regular lifting, but I felt really good. I mean, it was odd. I had never enjoyed being pregnant, but I enjoyed it with Declan. And then with him, he was born at 37 weeks, which is the earliest I've ever had a baby. I think my body was over it. And I didn't even have time to stick me with a needle. Like it was like nothing. So it was the most painful experience ever, but at the same time, it was pretty cool. But yeah. And then the healing process, like I was putting jeans on 2 hours later after he was born. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I mean, I don't know, like as much as messy as the pregnancy experiences can be, they were all really different. But I really believe doing some type of activity and especially lifting really helped the healing process. And you just feel so good afterwards. I didn't have I had depression, postpartum depression, after my miscarriage, after Blakely. I didn't have it with Clayton, and I didn't have it with Declan. So I really think it also helps with that. If you stay active, it's supposed to lower that.
Oh, we've heard that plenty of times with some of the pregnant women who've still stayed in shape during their pregnancy, and that's just so great. But one of the training techniques that I actually love to talk about in this podcast, because I was familiar with it a little bit in high school. I didn't really do it as much, but once I started this podcast, I really became more familiar with it, and I do it all the time now. Is time under tension. Do you like to do a lot of time under tension in your training?
Um, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. No, I just do it a little. I mean, I used to do like the burnouts in like high school and stuff like that, where like I'd curl and then you go from like 80 pounds to like 10 pounds, and then by the 10th pound, you look like the weakest person on the planet, and then people would make fun of you. But yeah, it's one of those training techniques that I think really helps. So I mean, I always love to just ask and see if people are doing that. But also, I mean, being that you have 4 kids, I mean, that's a job in and of itself. How are you able to still make time for yourself? Because when you're a mom, especially when you have younger kids, I mean, that's very hard to find some alone time for yourself.
You mean like when do I go to the gym?
Yeah, like how are you able to fit all that through in the day? Yeah.
Um, well, when the pandemic first started, and they shut down all the gyms and everything, I started freaking out because our gym doesn't have a daycare. And so I would normally go at night when we put my 1 and my 2-year old down, which at the time they were both 1. Can you believe that? They had 2 1-year olds. So I really had to luckily we have a barbell and a few hand weights out in the carport. So I really had to force myself, because at that time they both would nap in the morning. So I just started forcing myself to go out there in the heat and do what I could. Well, now they're 1 and 2, and my 2-year old doesn't take a nap. Well, I'm lucky she's napping right now, but you have to play hard with her to get her to nap. But now that the gym's open, what I do is I usually leave when they've gone to bed, which a lot of times I'm not walking out of the house until 8:30 p.m. So I drink a lot of coffee. I'm really like a zombie, especially in the mornings, because there's some nights. I mean, one night I didn't walk out of here until like 9 o'clock. And, if you do an hour and a half at the gym, and then a lot of times I'm coming back and I'm hungry, and then shower, God forbid I have to do laundry. I mean, it's late. It's just what I have to do, because if I don't go, I'm going to feel a million times worse the next day. My anxiety is probably going to be worse. I'm going to be in a bad mood. And it's mind over matter, because I know it's late, but I got to go, because I'm going to feel better if I go.
Yeah, that's a mental approach that, I mean, I think a lot of people have, and that brought me perfectly into, I was going to ask you about sleep, because for so many people, they don't understand that is the most important thing when it comes to recovery. I mean, that might be the most important thing of the healthy and fit lifestyle, is to get the proper amount of sleep, and it seems like you struggle at times, other than just being addicted to caffeine. Basically, how do you manage to pull through the day? Because if I get like 6 hours of sleep, it's hard for me to get through a workout, but I can't imagine, especially with having 4 kids, just how are you able to mentally just say, like, hey, I need to get this done, even though I might be super tired and just might be feeling like crap?
Um, well, every once in a while I will take a nap. um, I don't get to do that often, but I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of used to it, Now there are days where, like yesterday, I just wasn't feeling it. And, we're allowed to have those days. We're allowed to have days we just say, no gym today, not doing it. And that was yesterday. But most of the time, I just go. And, like I said earlier, if all I can do is 30 minutes, that's all I'm going to do. But if I get there, because a lot of times I get there, and like once you get into it, I mean, you're just feeling good. You put your headphones on, you got your good music, and that's, I don't know, it's just something about that. And I don't think everybody gets it, but the people that do, you get it, because like you're in your little zone, and I don't know. I normally have the meanest look on my face too when I'm at the gym, and but I'm really not mean. But I've definitely got that look, and it's just like, don't talk to me here for me. Um, and I don't know. I just do what I can, and even my husband gets it because he's kind of given up. He's like, if she needs to be doing her thing late, let her do her thing because he knows I need that time. And I'm not there late many nights, but there's some nights I need to be there. Um,
Your husband understands happy wife, happy life. Basically,
exactly.
he's got that down pat. So, but I mean, just with all the things too, with this, this lifestyle and the coronavirus. I mean, we'll get into that right now. I mean, it's impacted everything just so much, and I mean, I can't imagine, any other period in my life which was close to that. But it's just, how have you been dealing with that? Because, like you said, the gyms have closed, and I mean, I bet your kids have had to do that online learning, or at least the 10-year-old has. And it's just, how has your household been dealing with this adjustment so far?
um, they're so sick of me. I think we're you know we're all really stressed out. But I always try to remain positive. It's sad because I think a couple weeks ago I wanted to take them all to the park, but the park's closed. It's just I can't even take them to the park. Um, but there's so much to be grateful for, and I can't. It's hard for me to complain when there's so many people that have died. We haven't been sick, and I'm still one of those that kind of like keeps my kids. Like I haven't even let my kids go to the grocery store. And I know there's other parents that are less protective, but um, I really just try to be optimistic. Um, I'm I think that's all we can do. Just kind of try and be positive and hopeful. I do try. We luckily have a swimming pool. So that's been fun for them. It's hard for me to get out there without my husband because of the four kids. But we do try and do fun stuff. I know that they're so bored, but I just can't do a whole lot right now.
I mean, I will say the one positive thing about this disease, I mean, even if I don't even know if there is one, is that young people almost always like never get like severely sick with it. Like they're almost basically immune to it. So that's a positive thing. But unfortunately, the older people and people with existing health conditions, they have to worry about it. Because I was like, yeah, imagine if this disease was the opposite, where it was just like the younger people, and that would be I think just catastrophic. But I mean, also just with this too, I mean, it's just a whole different mindset that you have to have. But going into the fact that, I mean, things have really changed, and you're really having to mix things up with so many people this day and age. I mean, I would say if you were to interview the general public, the vast majority of people want to get in better shape. They just don't know how to. They don't have the tools on how to be successful, and that just is something that a lot of people struggle with. But I always say now is the time to really educate yourselves, because you have all the time in the world now. I mean, a lot of people, just are either they're either furloughed, or they might be unemployed, or they might just you just have more time. You're not going to be going out and doing stuff. What advice do you have for people who are looking to just get started on things, even if they have to start at home? Because I always say, even if you can just get that base started, by the time the gyms open up and maybe there's a vaccine or something like that, and we can go back to a normalish life, it's good to have that base set up, because it makes things so much easier when you transition to like maybe just going to the gym then.
I'd say take advantage of social media. There's so many Instagram accounts now. I mean, half of the accounts that I follow on Instagram post uh, just free fitness stuff. And you can save it. And there's so many people that are posting at home workouts where you don't even have to use equipment. You can do body weight. I mean, you can just go outside and do body weight squats, body weight lunges. Start out walking. If your main thing is to lose weight, and the best thing to do is get out there and move your body. So start small, start walking. If you can't do a mile, then start half a mile, you know. But honestly, body weight is where you could start. And then once you've mastered all that, then pick up a weight. But don't be scared to pick up a weight. I promise you. I mean, I've been lifting for 8 years now, and I don't think I look like a man, um, but my muscles. I mean, you're just not going to get bulky. I promise you. And take advantage of everything that is out there for free before you go buy something. And then there's also bands. I know you've seen, now they have them. They used to just have them in the rubber. I know you see all the women wear them around their legs trying to get their booties. Um, there's also, now they have them in the fabric. So those are great to invest in. And then the large bands, those are great to invest in. Because I know it's hard to find dumbbells. So if you can't find dumbbells, invest in some bands for at-home workouts. I know lots of people are selling them. But yeah, I mean, get outside and take advantage of your body weight and start there.
I mean, yeah, I always say if you can't find anything, or if you can't even afford anything, just go for a walk. I mean, I do 60 minutes to 80 minutes of just walking on a treadmill because I have all the free time in the world now, where I just go up to like 10,000 steps, and then I just, I get like 6 to 7 miles done. And, it's just, I'll have a movie playing, but it's like, just even do that and you'll start to see some changes over, even in the span of a few weeks. You'll start to probably lose a little bit of poundage, and, the nutrition thing, that's a whole different thing. But if we were to talk to you a year from today, where would you like to be at in, your fitness journey? What are some goals that you'd like to have achieved? Where would you like to be at fitness wise if we were to talk to you a year from today?
That's crazy. You know, I just want to keep inspiring people. I just signed on with Bomar Nutrition with them, so that's kind of new and big with me. And I'm not sure where that's going to go, but if anything, I just want to keep, I'm going to be older, but I just want to keep showing women that, we can do anything, we can accomplish anything, that we're capable, and keep setting goals, that there's no age limit. And also, you can have babies and still have goals. That, and it's not about getting your body back, because you never lost your body. That, this is our body now, and we look great before, but we can still look great and even better now. So I mean, I'm not really sure where I see myself, but I just want to keep inspiring people, and hopefully anyone that, sees me or hears my story, maybe thinks, okay, I can do that, you know.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I have so many of my friends, especially that are in like the mid to early 20s, where they have that fear where it's like, oh, if I have a kid, my life is over basically then and stuff. And it's just, no, it's definitely not the case. And I have plenty of guests on here to prove that to them. But lastly, you said before that you hate water, and you're the first guest that's ever said that on this podcast. So there's always a first for everything. I want to ask, first of all, how? Because water has no taste, so I don't get how you would hate it. But how are you able to cope with that too? Because if I had to drink something to basically survive that I hated, that would be a big conundrum for me.
Well, I mentioned Bomar Nutrition. They sell essentials, which is basically the amino acids and BCAAs. I mix. They have a lemonade flavor, so I mix, and I make it like I spread it out. So like, because you're only supposed to put it in a certain amount of water, and I kind of spread it out, and I'll do like 34 ounces, and I'll drink that. I'll drink 2 of those with 34 ounces. So that kind of gets me through a little bit. But and I'll drink plain water too. But it's just, I don't know. I'm just not a big like water chugger. You know what it is though. I'm a coffee drinker. So like if I'm gonna choose to drink liquid, I want my coffee.
I'm gonna be honest, I probably drank about 2 coffees my entire life. I
Really?
I'm weird like that. Well, as you can tell just from talking to me, I have a little too much energy. So could you imagine me on coffee? I don't know if I could contain myself. So it's yeah, but I just naturally am, stimulated a lot. So it's something that I've never really tried, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I think it's an acquired taste too. Like the times that I've tried, I was like, oh, it's a little. I'd have to like put like a ton of milk in it or something like that, or
See, I don't
creamer.
like beer. I'm
Yeah.
not a beer drinker.
Oh no, me neither. I just do the hard stuff, and my friends think that I'm an alcoholic just because I just go for the shots. But I was like, first of all, you get drunk quicker, and it saves you money. So hey, it is what it is. But again, Maggie, we cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story. And lastly, is there
Oh,
anyone
I
that
did want to say one more thing.
absolutely?
To anyone that is just starting on their journey, I recommend taking progress pictures, and not necessarily to share, but because you could be making progress and not even noticing it. So if you're taking progress pictures, uh, you'll be able to see, because a lot of times you're going to have a victory and it's not going to be a scale victory.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I mean, I've had times too where, yeah, I've done progress pictures and then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I haven't changed at all. And then you look at your phone and I was like, oh, I can clearly see
Yeah.
that I've lost some weight and maybe made some progress and stuff. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. But before we wrap things up, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Um, well, I want to say, I think I mentioned her. I was bragging about her peak, but my friend Savannah Powell, she is really special. She has an autistic daughter. But
Is she a bodybuilder?
she kind of looks like one.
Oh,
No,
she's one of
she's
those
not.
where she looks like one, but she's not. And then you're just like, wow, that's impressive even more than.
Yeah, she has a fitness account. She's really big on Facebook with her fitness account, but she has a really good spirit. She shares a lot, and she's with have you? I know you've heard of TC1. Yeah. Well, she reps them, but she's always posting stuff with her daughter, and she's just a really. We've been friends for a while. We've never met, but she's a really good person.
I'll definitely send her a message after this too and see if she wants to come on as well. I mean, I'd love to have her, but again, Maggie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And everyone, go and give her a follow on her Instagram page and all the other links that she has. I'll leave down below, and I will, warn you ahead of time that you will be inspired to work out and get in shape and get off those couches and stop eating those Twinkies once you follow her. But again, thank you so much for coming on, Maggie. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.